Hi, everyone. It's Joe Veneri, the host of Fitt Insider, the show where I talk with the entrepreneurs, executives, and investors who are redefining the business of fitness and wellness. Today, I'm joined by Abby Coleman. Abby is the CEO of Territory Foods, a healthy meal delivery service offering personalized meals prepared by local chefs. In today's episode, we talked about Abby's experience at Amazon, how Territory Foods uses data to improve its platform, and how she plans to scale the company's meal delivery service. Let's get into it. Hi, Abby. Welcome to Fitt Insider. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat and definitely get into the specifics of Territory Foods. To kick things off, can you just tell us more about the company, how you got involved, and kind of what the operation looks like today?
Absolutely. So Territory is a chef-made, nutritionist-approved meal delivery service that allows you to fully personalize according to your very specific eating and nutrition preferences. We start with an anti-inflammatory base. So there's no gluten, no dairy, no refined sugar in anything that we make. And then you customize from there based on how you eat. So whether you're vegan or keto, Mediterranean, or something that just works for you, we do it all. And Territory started about 8 years ago inside a CrossFit gym. The founder had the realization that without changing his diet, he couldn't really reach optimum wellness. And without help, he definitely wasn't going to stick to any changes that he was making in his diet. So he hired a paleocentric personal chef to do, shopping and prepping and cooking. But the cost was something that he couldn't manage. So he put a sign-up sheet in his gym to see if people wanted to go in and split the cost with him. And the whole gym signed up. So he put a fridge in the gym. He started filling it with these incredible meals. And we grew gym by gym and chef by chef and market by market and have stayed incredibly close to what our customers need and their nutrition needs and how that has evolved over the years. And so then I came in about a year ago to help scale the company. I have experience in food of all sizes. Right out of college, I started my own catering company. And then I went from very small food to very big food. I was at Kraft and Mondelez. I've worked here in the US, but also out in China, launching businesses. And then came back to the US to run e-commerce and marketing at an Amazon company called Quidsy. So I've seen both sides of the coin, small food and big food. And what you lose in big food is the personalization and the craft. And if you believe, as I do, and we do at Territory, that our bodies respond differently to food and that my path to wellness is different from your path, then it's very hard to fit a big food business model where scale is equal to fewer choices into that reality. And so what we do at Territory is we take the best of small food production and we scale it so that we can truly deliver on personalized nutrition. So yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say there's so much in there as you're talking. I'm thinking of different questions and different paths that I could take us down. One of them being, how was it, you mentioned you had a background in kind of the food space. Were you interested in getting involved at Territory? Did they recruit you? What did that process look like?
Yeah, so I got an outreach from the board. And they were looking for the next stage of the company. And just given my background and from a business perspective, I was a great fit. Also, personally, I'm a great fit. I have spent now several decades as a vegetarian or vegan, and having worked all over the world. I grew up in Texas. I worked out in China. You can imagine being vegan in some of these locations is fairly difficult. So I understand on a visceral level what it's like to decide there's a certain way that works. There's a certain nutrition path that works, but it's different from the way everybody around me is eating. And so taking on that burden of food preparation and thinking about food all the time and that daily constant stress of needing to provide food for myself and for my family, and then looking for solutions in the market. When Territory reached out, it was so personally aligned with the change I wanted to see in the world in terms of the food industry, but the change I wanted to see on a personal level and choice set, that I was just intrigued from the first call.
Sure. And that makes a ton of sense that there's that personal and professional overlap that you really understand the pain points along the way and can help address them and passionate about addressing them. Certainly. There's also, I was wondering, how big is the company today? How many employees? Where are you delivering meals to?
Yeah, so we've doubled our market presence in the last year since I've come on board. We have about 75 team members and more than twice that if you include all our chef partners. We operate in 13 markets in 8 states, and we've made over 10 million meals.
Wow. And with that, I was thinking back to when you said starting kind of in the CrossFit gym and scaling from there, kind of gym by gym with the refrigerators and people signing up. It's so interesting to think about how not only CrossFit gyms, you hear the RX bar story. They started in the gyms, and I think the Sieta Family Foods, they had a similar, kind of went to their local gym and were testing out products there. Have you maintained that model going forward as you've grown, or is it now kind of distribution at various places where the pickup points are and delivery and so forth?
We've absolutely maintained that model. What we've done is we've taken the best of that model and we've instilled it into our entire process so that we can continue that close relationship to customers and understanding their needs. Being in the gyms and using gyms as pickup partners as part of the distribution model means that we're constantly interacting with our customers and their needs, and we understand the changes in the fitness industry that align with what the changes are and thinking around nutrition are. So that allows us to constantly be listening to our customers. And we simultaneously in the past year have made a big investment in data science so that we can continue that listening in more of a digital format and constantly stay ahead of where nutrition is going, where our customers' needs are.
Sure. And if I'm a customer, if I'm maybe going to the gym, what does that so I see the kind of maybe the refrigerator cooler, the pickup, my friends who also go to the gym have it. Where does it start for me? Do I just go to the website and check out the various meal plans, or what's that use case for the customer?
Absolutely. So you would come on the site, territoryfoods.com. You tell us a little bit about your nutrition and food preferences, and then we're going to guide you to the meals that best align to your personal way of eating. And then our chefs make your meals, and you can have them either delivered through a pickup location or directly to your home. And we're not a subscription model, so there's no commitment required. But we do offer incentives to go that route. We don't want to trick anyone into a subscription, but we do want to help people who prefer to have that reliable weekly solution always there for them. And also importantly, we're a pre-order model. We take orders by Thursday for the following week. And this helps us run a sustainable business where we're procuring and producing food, but exactly to demand.
Yeah, and it's almost like there's two sides, right? So you have the customer side. You mentioned, well, I guess potentially more than two sides, but definitely the customer side, and then you're doing some of the things with the data science and obviously any of the tech that goes into the ordering, delivery, logistics. And then there's also the chefs. So how are you building out that side of the network to be able to prepare this food locally and make sure it's healthy and meets those standards?
So the chef network itself is very responsive to our customer needs. As an example, last summer, we saw the demand for plant-based meals doubling month over month, and the demand was outstripping our chef capacity. So we looked to bring on a number of additional chefs into the network that could really feed into this plant-based demand. So we brought on some incredible chefs, including Cafe Gratitude, who's out in LA, to really address this need. And that speaks to not only the individual chefs we bring on as partners, but the power of the network as a whole. Because as customer demand grows, we bring on more chefs with more specialties, and then we can address broader and broader needs and be flexible as things change.
Yeah, and I think that chef network is unique, and that might also be part of the answer to this next question. There are different competitors in the space around food delivery. It's proven to be especially difficult in terms of building that sustainable business, scaling it. More recently, last year, Kettlebell Kitchen unfortunately went out of business after raising, a sizable sum of money, and kind of not being able to navigate that path. How are you able to do that at Territory Foods in a way that, you're growing, but also with the logistics, the ingredient sourcing, all those things behind the scenes that make it such a difficult business?
Absolutely. I mean, you're right. There are a number of competitors in the space. That's because the need is so great for people to figure out how to get good food into their bodies when they don't have the time or really the knowledge to get it done. And by focusing on that core need and then going through all of the major pain points that trip up most of the players in the industry, we've been able to address what's important to customers while not getting sidelined by some of the costs and issues that have brought down other companies. So, we have a focus on very high sourcing standards for our foods, using only whole, fresh food. Of course, there's expense that comes with this, but one of the benefits of having a pre-order model is that it allows us to practically eliminate any food waste. So we can reinvest that back into the product itself. We also have on the delivery side, delivery costs are very high, but we do have the benefit of being able to deliver orders to pickup locations that creates efficiencies throughout the model. And the chef network itself, this is a great benefit to us, and is very sustainable as you think about the food industry as a whole, because we're leveraging chefs who not only have their amazing creativity, but they have facilities that are going underutilized. So it allows us to build on what's already built out in the market. And of course, the end benefit to the customer is that it allows us to deliver against the promise of personalized nutrition. So if you know what works for your body, this very specific way that you eat, keto, spicy, no mushrooms, or whatever it is, or if you need to A/B test your way into what works for your body, our chef network and our business model allows us to be responsive to those individual needs, but do it on to a whole market at scale.
When you think about, building some of those things out, the logistics, the ingredients, the chef network, what does it look like to actually maybe activate a market? So when you think about maybe expanding, you identify that city and you say there's opportunity here, and, maybe it's partially looking at the demand in terms of the gyms, the pickup locations, the customers, but then also you have to say, what would it look like to prop up this chef network and be able to do the delivery, et cetera? How do you evaluate that and how do you ramp that up?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you hit on all the different areas. It is complex. Luckily, we've done expansion enough times that we have a playbook in place. But the ingredients that you listed, building out the chef network is its own process that's outside of what are the gyms that we're going to partner with and how are we literally going to get food from point A to point B. And so we have leaders on the team that focus fully on each of those pieces, who are really empowered and know what the end goal is and what good looks like to go develop that as we expand into markets. So when we talk about building out a chef network, we really are looking for chefs that have a certain caliber and quality, but also have a really deep understanding of all these different nutrition needs. When we talk about plant-based chefs, not just anybody can manipulate a cashew and make cheese. It takes a lot of skill and a lot of knowledge. And so we're looking for a bunch of specialty skills that, when gathered together, are greater than the sum of the parts. So yeah, we have I think worked out the kinks in terms of how to get it done, but it's a full plan along each of those different planes.
Yeah, it definitely is a unique skill set. And that's why, when you find this kind of vegan restaurant or whatever the paleo meals that and love in a specific city, so you go back to that chef time and time again. And now it's really about adding them to your network and recruiting them and getting them on board, and really creating a new revenue stream for them in addition to, what else they might have going on, whether that's catering or a restaurant. So really cool in terms of building that model out. When you arrived, you mentioned, that being about a year ago and joined the company and focus on scale. When you get there kind of day one, and now as you have built out what I can only imagine is the roadmap for how it grows, what were some of the areas that you looked at and said, hey, this is where we can build in efficiencies. This is where we can improve. Maybe these are the things that we need to stop doing in order to get the company to continue to grow.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. One of the things, I'd come recently off of my time at Amazon, where everything we did was so data centric, and that was something that I took with me from that time and brought to the space where we have a ton of data around customer needs and customer inputs on how they want to be eating versus how they end up eating. There's a lot of fascinating richness in customer behavior on what people say versus what people do. And what I did when I came was allow us to build a systematic way for us to listen to what customers were telling us with their data and be able to act on it. So, when you think about all of the inputs that we have available to us, we have this platform that has 10 main nutrition paths. So whether that's keto or vegan or Whole30, we've got 10 main paths that you can go, but you can really customize to, infinite number of permutations across all of these. And so we can see what customers are doing when they personalize, whether it's, sure, I want to be vegan, but, I'm going to do vegan before 5 and I'm going to be paleo after 5. Or I want to be keto strict during the week and I'm going to be keto friendly on the weekend. There's a million. My favorite is PB&B, plant-based and bacon. So you really see all the different behaviors that people are telling us. Sure, you've got these specific ways, but here's how I make it my own. And when we're listening from a data perspective, it can get us to this place where we're not only responsive, but we can anticipate where things are going. We saw last summer, our nutritionist came to us and said, we need to do more in the Mediterranean diet. We're seeing the data where we didn't offer it as a specific eating path last summer, but we could see that customers were essentially making their own Mediterranean diet from the meal choices that we had. And so we did a concerted effort to develop out hundreds of meals to be able to support Mediterranean diet, and launched it at the end of last year. And then lo and behold, this year you can't help but miss you can't help but see the study that just came out that Mediterranean diet is the diet of the year. It has all these benefits against chronic disease, preventing chronic disease. And so being able to see that and see that this is where people are trying to head, let's help them get there. And knowing that before, the news hits the newsstands is really the superpower that we have when we're really listening to what customers need.
That's so interesting. I think so important, because from the outside looking in, you think about whether it's food delivery or even like the local restaurant, lots of folks get into it maybe because they're passionate about food and they want to help people eat better, and they don't think about necessarily the ramifications of like, how do we keep the lights on? How do we continue to do this and reach more people? And I think what you're saying is, by capturing all this data, you're not only helping people be more nutritious and make healthy choices and make it convenient, you're a step ahead of the curve. So when you talk internally at the company, is it almost as though, we're a data tech company as much as we are a food company?
That's right. Yes, that's how we think of ourselves. But food does come first, because without it, we would be nothing. And just a core belief that the food has to be something that people come back for. We focus, I think a lot of food tech companies focus a lot on acquisition. We probably spend a lot we inverse the amount of time that we spend on focusing on retention and really feeding our customers deeply. Our customers are eating over 50% of their calories with us. That's that is an honor to be feeding them. But we have to understand what their needs are, what makes them happy, how to keep them coming back.
Sure. And you mentioned a few things there. There's also the opportunity. So we're saying, we kind of get insights from a data perspective around where trends are going. And if we can, provide food that matches those trends or, consumer tastes, that hopefully you can capture more of the people that are searching for healthy meals. But there's also the point around, we want to have our customers eat more of their calories with us and really find, everything they need, or at least to the extent that they can, from Territory Foods. Thinking about, where the company goes from here in terms of scale, how big can it get, or even is that the focus? So you think about growing in that roadmap. What are the milestones for you? And is that a combination of, obviously more customers, but using this technology to predict some of these trends, getting more customers, engaging them, re-engaging them? Just what does that roadmap look like?
Yeah, so we're absolutely in expansion mode, and that is on several different levels. It is reaching more customers in new markets, but even within those markets, it's expanding our base and expanding the chef network. And the chef network enables us to feed more customers in their own special way. And then going deeper with our product set, so we can continue to fill in more needs throughout the day. So we have a multi-dimensional expansion roadmap in that way.
Looking forward, what does that big vision look like? Is it a matter of adding more and more consumers, expanding the number of cities and chefs, and what does that roadmap look like as you think about it today?
Yeah, absolutely. Our ultimate goal is to become the go-to personalized nutrition company, so we can help people in their pursuit of better health through food. And we've already doubled our market presence since last year. We're planning to launch in more markets. Our chef partners, which are so integral to our business and allow us to scale without any of the compromises in quality or taste, we plan to continue to add to that network. And, I believe we're really going to provide a new model in the fresh food category and in the food industry at large that shows how you can deliver high quality and personalized nutrition, but do it at scale.
Yeah, that's so exciting. A lot going on as you progress towards that goal. One thing I wanted to also ask you about was the health and fitness industry more broadly. You mentioned that you're personally engaged in living a healthier lifestyle. What does that look like for you in terms of just whether it's your personal health and fitness routine, how you came to that, and how you maintain it?
Yes. So I really think of wellness as food, movement, and mental. And when I think about balance, it's usually not that they're equally being addressed, but that one is being forgotten. So I really try to keep balance across the three to make sure that I'm moving forward. And from a food perspective, personally, I mentioned I've been vegetarian for decades and really excited by all of the plant-based interests that's been surging in the market. Because for me, that's what works for my body, and that's how I'm raising my girls. From a movement perspective, this is a big part of my life and always have been. I've been a long distance runner. I've recently joined the Peloton craze.
Nice.
Big fan there. And then from a mental perspective, I do make sure that I have mindfulness. A lot of the work of parenting, I have two small children, is practice in mindfulness and accepting the moment. And so there's a lot of work that I do just to be present with my small children and make sure that part of my development continues.
Yeah.
So I really think about it as holistic, but food being a very integral part of that.
You mentioned that you think of wellness as being the movement, the mental, the food, these various elements that all go into it. When you think about how Territory Foods fits into that, are there ways that, whether it's from partnerships or marketing, that you're tapping into this overall wellness movement, maybe beyond those gym partners, to be able to get the brand out there and continue to grow the customer base?
Yeah, wellness is an ecosystem, and we think about our role very seriously within that wellness journey. And our pickup locations are not just pickup locations. We commit to our partners, and we continue to build out that distribution model, because for our customers, it's a wonderful commitment device to be able to say, I've got to go pick up my food. It's at the gym. I'm going to go get a workout in. And to be able to be part of that journey means helping people create those small commitments, see those benefits on a daily basis. One of the huge benefits that I personally see on a daily basis, that is the third leg of the wellness journey around mental, is what we do at Territory takes away so much, yes, time. You're not prepping yourself, but the stress and the daily stress of, I have an intent around the way that I want to eat, and it is so hard to get there. And to get there, and the commitment and the mental load that's required to get there, to be able to take that off of our customers and give them the headspace, and whether it is an hour to go to the gym or the headspace to just focus on being your optimal self, that is really the gift that we think about for our customers.
Yeah, it's so important, and giving that time back to them, kind of across the board, is really, maybe part of the secret sauce that you're able to create. As you were talking about that and thinking about the gyms, one thing I wanted to ask, because in talking to the various kind of executives across the industry, when you start to think about whether it's Peloton or Hydro or some of the other at-home connected fitness, on-demand fitness, this idea of the gym apocalypse coming up, where gyms or studios are going to start to close because of the pressures put on them by the on-demand options. Have you thought about that in terms of, some folks say that's all exaggerated, it's not true, it's not going to play out that way, but the impact potentially on Territory if it were to go that way, where the other pickup locations drop off might be, or if being dependent on the gyms is potentially a risk long term?
So we think about building out networks that provide us flexibility and don't lock us in. So while we do have over 500 pickup locations, that as a model, we could move where customers are going. And so we really think that the network effect of being in those communities is very positive. But if we didn't see that benefit, and frankly, if our fitness partners didn't see the benefit, we could adjust to different locations. I do think there's a big benefit in finding communities that are very engaged. And we see that coming through in, our acquisition is about 2/3 word of mouth. And so these communities are such an important source of that advocacy for the brand. And so if we weren't in gyms, we would be looking for places where there are those communities, where there are those touch points, and where we could insert ourselves in that conversation.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. Do you talk to the gym partners about, the benefit, the foot traffic, is there a revenue share, profit share, and how do you incentivize them, I guess, is the punchline, to have Territory Foods in there?
Yeah, we do. We do compensate them because we're showing up in their space. But it goes beyond that, because it really, again, it's that commitment device. It is part of helping them build a wellness ecosystem. So when they're offering, the latest, whether it's class-based or equipment or trainers, when they're able to add the food component, they're really addressing the full wellness question for their members. So yes, we do. We have a compensation structure for them, but it really is a partnership because we are mutually beneficial to each other.
Oh yeah, I think the added benefit is there, and it's plain to see. You mentioned kind of rounding out the healthy lifestyle by being able to have that food option there, and starting to wrap up potentially here. One of the things I did want to ask, you mentioned earlier about kind of seeing the Mediterranean diet coming by using the data, and now we have trends. There's paleo and obviously plant-based eating, which has then spawned the alternative in fake meat, Beyond Meat, Impossible Foods. Keto has obviously played a huge role in kind of impacting the way that people eat. Is there a trend that you've kind of identified now that's bubbling up, or anything that you're keeping your eye on?
Within plant-based, there's a lot of interesting behavior. And I'd mentioned that we're a great place. If you know what works for you, you can come to us and be as specific as you need to be, but you can also come and do A/B testing. And we're seeing a ton of people who are truly meat eaters, but who want to understand what eating plant-based will do for their bodies. And so we're seeing a ton of activity. It's 70% plant-based. It's, 55% plant-based. It's a mix and moving into that space. And I think that to me is so interesting because it's such a movement. It's such a movement that is not necessarily driven by wanting to self-identify like a vegan or vegetarian, but maybe do better for the planet and do better for your body and move in that direction. And it sort of represents the overall awakening and awareness of being able to eat for health outcomes, eat for planet outcomes, and generally just the awareness of what we put in our bodies and how important that is, which feels like an awakening that I am a big supporter of.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be so interesting to see how that continues to evolve and what percentages plant-based or meat eating, or how, Meatless Monday was a thing that people start to try, and then they're like, oh, this isn't so bad. I actually feel great. And next thing you know, they're eating a significantly larger portion of their food is plant-based. So it'll be interesting to track that as it evolves. Looking ahead, and we'll get you out of here on this. When it comes to Territory Foods and the benchmarks and milestones that you set for yourself, what are you excited about? What are you looking forward to? Kind of what does the future hold, whether that's in the near term or even in the longer term?
Well, I would say in the near term for us, the expansion path, getting out to more markets, being able to feed more customers, the life-changing impact that we have, that is, the reason that I get up every morning and to be able to go to work and change people's lives. That's what really keeps us going. And the ability to prove out that there's a way to get food to people that doesn't compromise on quality or personalization and really helps them on their path towards wellness. There's just nothing better than that.
It's an amazing mission. And where can folks learn more about Territory Foods and potentially find out if it's available where they live?
Absolutely. Check us out at territoryfoods.com, or, we're all over Instagram at Territory Foods.
That's amazing. Abby, thanks so much for joining us today. It was great to hear the Territory Foods story.
Thanks so much.
Thanks everyone for listening to today's episode. For more from Fitt Insider, visit insider.fit.co and subscribe to our weekly newsletter for insights and analysis on the business of fitness and wellness. Then go ahead and subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. See you next time.